She had been the person that was responsible for all the business development. I had been I could count on one hand the number of business development calls I'd been on. So here I am in this sort of compressed market. I don't know how to do it, and I'm feeling abandoned. So I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to pull this off.
Welcome to the Smart Gets Paid podcast with me, Leah Niederthal. I help women land higher paying clients in their independent consulting businesses, but I've never been a salesperson. My background is in corporate marketing, and when I started my first consulting business, I learned pretty quickly that it's about 1,000 times harder to sell your own stuff than it is to sell someone else's. So I taught myself how to do it, and I created the sales approach that I now share with my clients so they can feel more comfortable in the sales process, get more of the right clients, and get paid way more for every client contract. So whether your client contracts are $5,000, $100,000, or more, if you want to work with more of the clients you love, do more of the work you love, and get paid more than you ever thought you could, then you're in the right place. Let's do it together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate, review, and share. Hey there, Leah here, and thanks for tuning in. I hope that wherever you're listening to this, wherever you are right now, I hope you're having a great week, making some good progress in your business, and taking some time for you. So if you had seen me back when my former business partner and I first started our consulting business, there is no way you would have taken one look at me and said, you know what? She is really good at selling. She's really good at getting clients. And I bet she's going to become a sales coach in the future. And that's because when we first got started, I didn't do any of the selling. I mean, I would be on calls with my business partner and I would come to meetings and I would sort of, speak when it was my turn. But, truth be told, like the selling part really freaked me out. Like I hated it. I mean, sure, I felt comfortable when we were talking about the actual work and how we work because, that was sort of my role in the business, like doing the actual work and being behind the scenes and making the trains run. But when it came to prospecting or having sales conversations or reaching out to people or following up, I hated it. I remember very clearly there were a few times when, we were set to have a call with a potential client and my business partner would be running late maybe, or maybe she got pulled away to do something else. And I would have to have the call by myself. And I remember thinking in those moments, like, maybe I should just reschedule till we can both be on the call. Or actually, what was really going through my head was that I was praying to the universe that the client would cancel because I just didn't want to have to do the selling part. That just wasn't my role. That was my business partner's role. She was much more comfortable doing that. And, they were mostly her contacts or people she had prospected. And I was perfectly content to let her take charge. But when you're trying to get a new business off the ground and you're living in San Francisco and paying San Francisco rent and San Francisco prices, you can't have just one person doing the heavy lifting on getting revenue. And I was just kind of a complete waste of space in that area. Like I just couldn't do it. And that's even though I came from marketing. But, as I had figured out pretty quickly, marketing isn't selling. And I just had no idea how to sell. And so eventually we had to make a decision that I had to go back and get a job. And so I did. I went back to work at a PR firm. But I have to say, like, as relieved as I was to have a steady income, I felt this like deep regret that I couldn't do the one thing I needed to do in the business at that point, which was to actually get clients. And that's when I decided to teach myself how to do it. Because I didn't want to do it how I had had people sell to me before. And my business partner's style wasn't even my style really. Like it didn't feel totally right. And so I had to learn how to do it myself in a way that felt right to me. And so that's what sent me down the path of teaching myself how to sell. I read everything I could get my hands on, which turned into 65 books. And I tried everything with my actual clients. Anything that felt salesy, I ditched. But anything that felt good, I kept. And over time, I developed a selling methodology that felt really good. And it absolutely worked for my clients and me. That's the same methodology I used in that business to sell $3 million of work with a 92% win rate. And it's the methodology I used to help a friend of mine double her consulting business in a year and then double it again in year 2. And it's the methodology that I now teach our clients in the academy. But if you've ever felt, like I'm just not a salesperson, and you look at me, or you've ever thought like she's just a natural, I am here to tell you I am not. This does not come naturally to me. And I'll never forget that fear that I felt, way back then when I just didn't know what I was doing. And when I was so grateful that my business partner did, so that, thank God I didn't have to do it. And that's why I felt such deep empathy when I first talked to the client that I'm now talking to in this episode, Alli Myatt. Because in their business, Alli's business partner did all the selling too and got all their clients. And so last year, when her business partner decided she didn't really want to run the business anymore, and she went back and got a job, Alli was now responsible for doing all the business development and getting all the clients all by herself. And she had no idea what to do. So the conversation you're going to hear today is about, what do you do when you suddenly find that you're responsible for biz dev for the first time? And also when you find yourself alone in a business where you thought you'd have a partner. And it's also the story of a woman who reached out for help and focused where she needed to focus and turned her business around all by herself. Alli Myatt is the founder of the Equity Practice, where she works with businesses and organizations to create liberatory cultures that upend legacy ways of working and enable teams to do exceptional work together. And I am so excited for you to hear her story. So take a listen to my conversation with Alli Myatt, and at the end, I'll come back and share a lesson that you can apply to your business. And then hopefully someday soon, you'll partner with us to help you build your consulting business, and you'll come back on the podcast and share your story. Enjoy. Alli, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah. Well, so let's just start out. Let's tell the good people who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Alli Myatt. I am the founder of the Equity Practice. And what we do is we help people to create liberatory cultures that bring their teams together so that everyone can thrive. I live in Dallas. I have a lot of plant children, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing and really helping teams to create a better environment.
So just for everybody, when you say liberatory culture, can you just for context, how do you think about liberatory cultures, and what are you helping your clients try to achieve with liberatory cultures?
Thank you for asking that. I would say the liberatory cultures are similar to anti-oppressive cultures, but for me, I wanted to focus on what we wanted, not what we didn't want. So what we're trying to do is to change how people relate to each other so that we don't rely on control or dominating activities that can really be harmful. That we can be more of like, how do we share power? How do we take abundant care of people in the team? How do we act with reciprocity and things like that? So I wrote an article a few years back that sort of walks through how you can do that in talent and operation practices. So if people want to read more about it, that would be a good place to learn more. If you're a nerd and like reading.
If you're a nerd and like cultures where people feel safe and are not oppressed,
yes.
What's the title of the article?
It's called, it's on HBR, and it's called How to Infuse Liberatory Principles into Your Talent Practices. And it was
so bury the lead that you were published in Harvard Business Review. No bigs. I wrote an article. It's on somebody's blog. Actually, it's a Harvard Business Review. Okay, so Google Alli Myatt in the Harvard Business Review. So humble. And how long have you been doing this work?
This version of it the business has been around for almost 5 years, but I started doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work probably about a decade ago. So before we founded the Equity Practice, I was a COO where I was in charge of our talent operations and finance and strategy work, which included DEI. So I really loved what I was doing and changing the outcomes for all of our team. And so it was sort of the inspiration for founding the business.
Oh, that's great. So the business has been around for about 5 years. Well, so what was going on in the business that brought you into this orbit? I mean, you reached out for a reason. Like what was the reason?
Yeah. Last year was a little rough. If you notice, I said we founded, and so I founded the business with a business partner. And my business partner decided that she didn't like entrepreneurship and decided to go back to work full time. And she had been the person that was responsible for all the business development. I had been I could count on one hand the number of business development calls I'd been on. And so I had no idea what I was doing. So asked someone who I really trust about like how she learned how to do business development, and she recommended you and listened to your podcast and was like, yes, like I felt like you were speaking to me. So this is like feeling very full circle to even be having this conversation. And so we reached out. I reached out, I think, I must have reached out on Christmas Eve, which tells you how panicked I was. But yeah, that's why I connected.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you did. Right. So you mentioned the word panic. I mean, what did it feel like to be the only person in the business at that point, and knowing that you would have to take on this part that you hadn't really been a part of before?
Yeah, it was probably one of the hardest things I've gone through professionally. I often tell people it was like a business divorce. And I was going through all the feelings of like abandonment and like all these things of like, nobody wants to hitch the wagon to me. And on top of it, the DEI world, because we're sort of known, our brand is in racial equity and DEI. In 2023, it started to tighten up a lot. So we were already struggling to find business. So here I am in this sort of compressed market. I don't know how to do it. And I'm feeling abandoned. So I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to pull this off. I didn't want to work for anybody else. I really believe in the work that we're doing and I'm supposed to be doing it. But you need clients if you want to do the work and if you want to pay bills and eat. So It was super scary.
Yeah. So, all right. So it's Christmas Eve. You're in this moment where you're looking at the marketplace and you're looking at your own business and you're looking at yourself. And you're sort of in this low point. So let's fast forward to where we are now, and then we'll talk about how we got there, how you got there. So bring us up to speed. I mean, like, where are things now? Because I don't think anybody wants to envision you like in this panic moment, like it's even because even thinking about you in this like panic moment is like giving me anxiety. So like, and I'm sure the rest of the listeners also. So how are things now? And then we'll talk about how we got there.
Yeah, things are better. So, and I keep trying to remind myself because it's really easy to fall into the scarcity trap. When we started working together, I think I had maybe 45 days of cash on hand, which was very scary for me. And now we're closer to 4 months, which is really good. And so
I don't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got a big contract, as you know, in December, and that helped a lot. And I know how to do business development. I wouldn't say I'm like the best, but I actually feel pretty confident that I know what rituals and practices will help me. Like even now, I took January off, and so it's February. I kept getting back in it, and they'll have these moments of like, oh my gosh, the pipeline. But I know I have the tools to be able to address that. So I like calms me down because I feel like I have what I need to be able to do that part of the work.
Yeah. Well, and it leads to like what prompted me to invite you on the podcast also is like, I saw your post about like you were getting these contracts, you were closing some of these deals. And I was like, Alli, look, you are doing this, like you are doing this thing that, somebody else had done. And when it came fully on your plate, you were worried, could I even do it? And look at you. Like, I don't know. I think I'm going to celebrate you. Like, I'm going to sit here, like saying all these nice things about you because I know that how humble you are and you're not going to say this about yourself, but like you can do that. You are doing this.
Yes. And I think it makes me a better consultant too. Like being able to be in conversation with potential clients just helps me to understand what people are thinking about more. Like I was just out of that. And I actually like it and then realize now that I probably should have been doing it all along. But, how do you learn things as you get older?
Yeah. The business development part or
Yeah, I do think I should have been doing it all along.
but isn't that
But yeah.
interesting how, even when I was running the consulting business, like I had to learn how to sell because I saw my business partner doing it and she was
Mhm.
like out front and she was very comfortable in that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to let you do that. Right. That was like a very comfortable place for me to be because I'm so comfortable in the background, just like doing the work, making the trains run,
Right.
And so, yeah, should I have been doing it then? Probably. But I think we stay where we feel like we can do the most good. And for a
Yeah.
lot of us, it's like doing the work. I don't know if that was the same for you.
Yeah, I think part of it was so when my business partner and I were trying to figure out who would do what, um, it felt like I would be a better fit for the client facing, like client work. And so she was taking more on of our ops and our business development work. And I've learned like this, I've learned so much about about myself in the last year. I just turned 50. And so when you turn 50, around 49, 50, you go through your Chiron return for those astrology people, which you get to like work on your deepest wound, your like life wound. And this, I'm realizing that I give away a lot. Like I take care of other people before I take care of myself. And I think that that was part of it was like, I didn't pick the role that I wanted. I was like, well, whatever you don't want, I'll pick up was kind of what happened. And yeah, I'm realizing I do that a lot. I give away a lot. So like this transition has been really illuminating about the ways that I wasn't taking up space and wasn't caring for me as much as I was taking care of somebody else.
Oh, wow. What a cool thing to observe or to have the ability to observe. And then, the lessons that you take from that. Are you still in sort of observing behavior mode or are you in, okay, I'm going to do something different with this knowledge mode?
Yeah. I really like the three types of profitability that you talk about. Because when I was doing my reflecting on the year, I was realizing, and I've talked to you about this, like the work wasn't feeling always great. And I was realizing I wasn't having enough time to create what I wanted. So what I'm doing is I'm being very dogmatic about that Monday and Friday. It's like, I'm starting there. Like, if I want to go to, it was wild. Like even when I was in January, I went to sign up for facilitators training and they had an option in February. And I was like, oh, I can't sign up for this because the client might need that time. What are you talking about? like this client that doesn't exist and hasn't claimed this time, I'm like saving it for them. And then I realized that I did that. So I went ahead and scheduled it in February. So I'm trying to be like more like claiming my time, protecting my time is where I'm starting. And we'll see where it takes me this year.
Oh, I love that. And just for everybody, what Alli's talking about, the three types of profitability are financial profitability, obviously making money, professional profitability, doing the work you love with clients you enjoy, and then emotional profitability. Are you having fun? Do you have time for the people and things that matter? And are you optimistic about the future? So oftentimes we really only think about the financial part, but at what cost, right? To either your time or the space you take up or the work you're doing or the joy you find, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's so important because I realized last year too that I wasn't doing the work that I love the most. And I was like, why am I doing that? I work for myself. That's crazy. So it's just been a lot. Like this year has been it's been hard, but it's been I'm like really hopeful about, which feels really weird. Like when you think about what's going on in the country right now, it's nice that the business feels like this little cocoon of possibility right now. That's how it feels, which is good to have, given that the external world feels chaotic and pisses me off daily. So.
You and me both. I know. Well, that's amazing that you've created this space that feels like you I mean, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but like you can direct how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it feels that way.
I love that. That's amazing. What are the 2 or 3 of the biggest game changers that have sort of brought you to this point of either like being able to get clients, but also I think some of these other things like taking up your own space, that sort of thing. I mean, what are the biggest game changers that have helped you along the way?
Yeah, I love being in the academy. I'm so glad that, because I think we talked in January originally, and I was like, oh, I don't have money for this, which was dumb. Like, how are you going to get money if you don't figure out how to make money? But I realized like it was actually right on time when we started. We started the week that my business partner got a new job. Like, it was like, it just kind of like perfectly aligned. And so it's been really helpful for me to like learn that business development or sales is really a conversation. And the tools that I love the most are the ones that are about like keeping it conversational and keeping the conversation going. So when you reach out to somebody and you get time on their calendar, you don't end a call unless you have time again. Like, you just keep putting it on the calendar and you keep them engaged. Like, I have learned, if I don't do that, then it's harder to get them back. It's sort of like
it's impossible to get them back. It's impossible to get them back.
Exactly. And people don't say no to that, like booking a call from a call. Like, I think that's brilliant. The proposal in the email, also brilliant, because it like makes it feel less formal. So we're just having a conversation. So even when I do forget to book a call, when I send you the proposal in the email, you're more likely to want to chat about it. So like that has been really helpful to like think about it as, this might take 2 years to like keep moving the ball along. It might go away for a while. It might come back, but it's really just a conversation of like how I might be able to support people. And that's been really helpful. Along with like some of the technical tools to just like understand who's in my network, who could I outreach to, how should I set up my CRM, which I'm now doing because I got rid of my old one. And, how do I leverage LinkedIn? All of those things have been really helpful. And like, I feel like I have the systems in place to have like these regular rituals and rhythms that support the business and me.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I have so many like questions and thoughts. But I love how you're talking about rituals and rhythms, because the rituals is not really a term you would expect to be in this space that's like, driven and about money and whatnot. I mean, shine a light on how you think about rituals and rhythms.
Yeah. For people who like follows Myers-Briggs, I am a strong P, which means I am horrible at like work planning. Like, if I work, I'm a planful P, they say. So I can produce a work plan and then I never look at it again. So like a lot of times my peers will think like, what are you talking about? You're not a J. I'm like, I'm totally not a J. So I have to use rhythms and rituals to keep me on track. And so some of the rituals that have been helpful, like daily, I send out what's called a shoulder tap, which is just reaching out to people about something that I know they might be interested in. Like, I had one of my former colleagues posted something that I was like, oh, I'm thinking about this idea. I saw that you posted this. Do you want to chat? And she immediately signed up for time to chat. And so like those types of rhythms of like doing that every day, posting regularly, like all of those things have made it feel, because I get why people don't focus on this. It feels like, well, I have to do all the client stuff. When am I going to have time for working on my business? But you have to work on your business if you want to have clients. And, eventually there will become a time when you need to be able to attract things. And so it's important to have, if I don't have rhythms and rituals, it doesn't happen. If I forget to do it, or it's happening on Saturday and Sunday. So like the rituals and rhythms, protecting time to like do my marketing and things like that has been really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I think, all your, I think that's great, because it's just integrating it into your life, the same way that like making coffee is a ritual, or,
right, exactly.
doing yoga
Yeah.
working out every day is a ritual. You have your bedtime ritual. Right. Because if it's something that you want to be a part of you, right, or a part of your business or what have you, it can't just be a when you get to it thing.
Right, exactly.
Because you'll never get to it, especially if you don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't know how to do it, and it doesn't feel good, you'll never get to it. You know?
Yeah.
So, but I like also what you're talking about around things like the shoulder tap and using it again in service of it's just conversations, you know, you make it sort of conversational. It's not like, let's do a big campaign on something. Right. It's like, hey, do you want to talk about this?
Right. And sometimes it doesn't turn into something right away, but I know that I believe it will eventually could possibly, if I'm the right person, turn into something, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months down the line. That's how I'd like to think about it now.
It sounds like you really, just relative to where you were before, it's like there's a lot more trust in the process, right? It's like if you didn't know how to do something, you would probably feel a lot more frantic than you are sounding right now, right? But what I'm picking up from you is just like a lot of like calm and trust, not just in the process, but in yourself. Is that something that's a part of this? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think taking off January. I turned 50 on Inauguration Day. Which I didn't like, no judgment for people's preferences, but that was not what I preferred. Who was in office now?
No judgment for people's preferences. Okay. Let's just, for everybody that day did not go our way. Right. And the day that preceded it, that was important, also did not go our way. So I'm sorry that happened to be a happy, what was supposed to be a happy day for you and like a monumental day for you. And it was maybe not that.
I mean, I left the country, so that helped. So I was like, I'm not doing this with you. But I spent the month really just reflecting on, what I had learned the year before and what I wanted to be true. I also did a drawing challenge. So I started drawing every day, and that has been incredibly grounded. So I've been on calls where people are talking about really stressful, traumatic things, and I'm just over there coloring away, and it just calms my nervous system right on down. And so having those types of things and being really intentional about my time and trying to take care of myself and center my emotional profitability, I think has been good. And I just have this sense of, even though the market is still, with all that's going on with the government, it's touching every sector and everyone's being affected. So it's but I just have this gut feeling that it's going to be okay. Maybe I'm, in denial. I don't know. But I just have this, I'm no, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to keep at it and it'll be fine. Maybe I'm delusional. We'll find out. But I don't think I am.
Well, and I remember you said something in our listening session that happened right after the election. Because I woke up after the election and I was like, oh my God, I need to be with people. I need to be with the Academy, with our members. And so we hosted this session just to share our thoughts and feelings. And it was really, really meaningful for me. And I think it was for, a lot of the women. And you shared a story about how, I think maybe it was that morning or recently do you remember the story about the butterflies? No.
Yeah.
Wait, was it the butterflies or the girls playing?
Yes. Both. I went for a walk. I walked so much that week. I was on election day, I think all I did was walk. I don't think I did any work. Because walking is another thing that I do to help, make me feel more present. And I remember walking that day, election day, and it was warm in Dallas that day. So I saw these butterflies, the monarch butterflies were flying. And I was like, oh, they're flying. And then I heard the children playing. So I'm really close to a girls' school. And they were outside playing. And that delightful squeal that little kids have, which always just that and their laughter. It's just pure joy. So I heard them squealing and playing. And I was like, yeah, we're still here. The butterflies are still here. The little girls are still playing. And, when I think about where we are now and like why I do the work that I do and why I think a lot of people do the work that they do. It's like we have to remember little girls on that playground deserve a better world than what some people are trying to create for them. So it just keeps me grounded. It's like,
Well, and I've thought about that story a lot since then, just like, yes, girls are still playing, butterflies are still flying, let's just keep our feet on the ground and be here. Right.
Yeah. One day at a time.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you feel like made a big difference for you, whether it was a mindset or a tool or some shift that happened?
When you're talking about like the community gathering, it made me remember that when my business partner left, one thing that really hit me that first week that she left, and it was literally the week that I think we started the boot camp. And I was like, I wanted to like talk through like the ideal client with her, like just like I'm a verbal processor. And there was nobody in Slack. I was just in Slack by myself. But I had
in your company Slack your company Slack by yourself.
There's nobody to like hop on a huddle with, right? Like nobody's in there. And I'm used to like, I need to talk through this and we would just hop on a huddle. But I had the academy Slack, right? With all these women sharing and getting feedback and all these things. And so it was sort of like, I think I would have been so much more lonely if I hadn't been part of the community. And that was actually really helpful because you get such great feedback and you get so much encouragement. It's just like you like attract really cool people. So I'm not, I mean, I guess I'm cool, but like the people
are cool, Alli.
that are in your universe are just like really kind and smart and just generous with their feedback and willing to pour into each other. And like, I think that was really helpful of like, not only like the coaches giving me feedback, but also getting it from other people and knowing I was building something with other people was really helpful as well.
That's really nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can imagine staring into an empty Slack and being like, where is everybody?
Yeah, I know. I didn't like that.
Is there anything else that you want to share that sort of helped you?
Yeah, I think like what's been helpful is like whenever I need a template, I'm like, do you have a template? Just tell me exactly what to say. You all are so great. There's so many templates, so you don't have to like recreate the wheel. And I think that was what was really helpful of like having this community where I didn't have to like figure it out on my own was helpful. And I think, yeah, for me, when I started, it was still scary. I didn't know if it was going to work, but like the mindset that I had was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow the directions and see what comes from it. And I think that's like whenever you're learning anything, like music, when you're learning music, you're like, you learn your scales and you learn how to put your fingers on the piano and all the things. And then you learn how to play music. And then eventually you learn how to improvise, right? If you keep practicing. And so I sort of see it like this. It's a practice of, I learned so much from just trying things and realizing like some of my early shoulder taps, I'm like, oh, I see why people didn't respond to that. And now I like feel like I have, it's like if you can treat it like an experiment, like, and not be so like one thing that you say is like, make it so, like ship it. Don't like overthink it. You can always fix it later. And it's like, if you treat everything like, oh, I'm learning from this and I'm going to continue to iterate, then it stops you from like getting stuck, I think.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I mean, I know how true that is because I literally had to learn that. Like career perfectionists over here, recovering perfectionists, and it's a big mindset shift. And even and you can't. It can be a mindset shift even before a behavior shift because but those two things go hand in hand. But I think it is sort of freeing when you're like, just try it, make it so.
Right. Right. And if you find a mistake, you can fix it. That's fine. You're not going to like perfectionism is impossible. Like it just isn't. And when you think about nature, like flowers aren't perfect. Like they have little imperfections, or like trees have little, like leaves have like they show up differently, and it's still beautiful. So it's like, why are we trying to be this like symmetrical thing? Like, where did we learn that? Because that's not what nature looks like. So Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Alli, so fill in the blank for me. I almost didn't work with you because
I thought I didn't have money. I thought I couldn't make it work. Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, oh, I don't know if I should spend money on myself, but given the because like I said, we have 45 days cash. I was like, but it was the right thing. And I had enough. That's the funny thing about scarcity is it tells you it's almost like energy, right? Like if you're like, oh, I don't have this thing, then you won't. But if you're like, I'm going to lean into this, then sometimes resources flow in. And that's been my experience so far. So
totally. I heard something earlier this week that was like, I was sort of listening in on somebody else's pitch for like their program or whatever. And they said something that really sort of struck me because it's so true. It's like if you think you can do it or pay for it or whatever, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. But the truth is, you'll pay either way.
Exactly. I mean, I can't even imagine what would have happened if I hadn't joined. Like, I wouldn't know what I was doing. Probably the business would be done, I'm guessing. But yeah, gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah. So, Alli, what would you say to somebody who's in the position that you were back then? Maybe in a partnership, a business partnership where somebody else did all the client development and all the business development, and then suddenly it's in their lap and they didn't expect that.
Yeah, especially if they go through some sort of business breakup, I would say I'm sorry. And I hope that they give themselves space to deal with all the emotional fallout because it really is kind of like a business divorce. Like you have to disentangle all the financial stuff. Like it's just a lot. And so I hope that they give themselves space to feel that. But I think you can do this. It's just about it's like when you eat an elephant. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time. I'm a Texan, so we say these horrible analogies about harming animals. But you eat it one spoonful. You do it one step at a time. And so I think if you can not try and do everything at once and just sort of step through, I think you can learn it, especially if you join something like the Academy, because it's like a roadmap. Then you don't have to do it yourself.
You guys should know that I literally told Alli at the beginning of this, you don't have to talk. You don't have to.
I know. I
talk about the Academy.
I know, but I tell people all the time. I think it's.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, it's been really helpful. I couldn't have figured this out. I had no clue. I mean, I've been a recruiter before, but I've never done any fundraising or anything like this. Some of the things I just wouldn't have come up with. It's just not how my brain works. So.
Yeah. Well, that's why you plugged in.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Alli, where can people find you?
In Dallas. No.
Walking somewhere around Dallas.
Walking, coloring. So they can find me at my website, which is www.theequitypractice.com. I'm also on Substack and Blue Sky if you're a social media person, and on LinkedIn. So would love to connect with people.
There we go.
Awesome. I will say, when I listen to the podcast a lot, especially if I'm driving, and I'm always like, oh, I want to be on it. So I'm super when you asked, I was like, oh my God, I just never, this is check. Dreams come true.
Life goals, business goals. Awesome. Well, you deserve it. You've put in so much work and you have really pushed through and figured out some things. And it's just, I feel so lucky to have, had a front row seat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I hope you are very, very proud of yourself.
I am. So I'm I did it. I didn't give up. So yeah, thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, Alli, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. I loved that conversation with Alli. And if anything Alli said resonated with you, I hope you'll reach out to her and thank her and let her know. So I want to pull out a lesson that you can apply to your business. And there's just so much you can take from what Alli shared, whether it's thinking of business development, not just as a habit or as a consistency thing, but as a ritual, which I think is just such a beautiful reframe. Or whether it's about staying grounded and holding on to the mindset that things are going to be okay. Or even her point about surrounding yourself with community and how important that is. There are so many things. But I wanted to offer a thought about Alli's story that might help you too. And that is because I hear this all the time. So many women tell me I'm just not a salesperson. And as you heard, this doesn't come naturally to me either. And then there's this worry that I hear that if they learn how to get clients, they'll be forced to be salesy or act like a salesperson, which they're going to hate naturally because everybody hates that. But here's the thing, you don't have to be like that. I mean, that's not our vibe. That's not our approach. But even beyond that, I want you to know that you actually don't have to love selling. You don't even have to like selling, but you don't have to like it to be good at it. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm a sales coach and selling isn't even my favorite part of running a business. But, like my clients, I learned how to do it and I got good at it. And even more importantly, you can be really successful at it without being a natural, without loving it, and even without liking it. I mean, I've had clients who didn't like selling, and I'm talking about who really resisted it, end up making $100,000 more in a year than they did in the previous year. I've seen clients go from getting paid $40,000 for a project to getting paid $75,000 for the exact same work. I've had clients go from doing a lot of tactical work to selling in strategic work where they get paid for their brain, and go from doing a lot of small projects to working with fewer clients and getting paid more so they didn't have to take on as much and had more time for themselves. And I've seen women finally start charging and getting paid tens of thousands of dollars for work they had been doing for free because they knew how to sell. They knew how to get clients. Because really, I mean, at the end of the day, you're always going to gravitate towards the parts of your business that you love. That's just human nature. But getting clients is really what fuels the business. I mean, it's what keeps the doors open and keeps the lights on and keeps you with work to do. So if you're sitting there thinking, I just don't love this, I'll never be good at this, I want you to know that's not true. You don't have to love it. You just have to do it. And when you do, you might just surprise yourself.